Hello. All the presentations that I've heard before this was completely amazing, and I just want to say how proud I am to stand up here and represent a network that cares about these issues and that are really digging in and getting in there to make it happen. So I just want to, first of all, say thank you. So my presentation is going to be a little different, obviously, because I'm different. Y'all know. But so what I want to really do, and I would adjust for the sound, is let's say I'll just move this back. And I just want to say that my presentation is more of a personal accounting because I am Black. So there's that. And I think that that's a good thing in this case, because I see that we are trying to reach out, and I really want to help and be that person. I just want to say to all the sites who need me, I am here. And one of my major goals for even joining this network from CHLA, because I first came here from research, and I was a part of a research, which is a GI study. And I brought my daughter in, and then after that, I kind of, I guess you could say I fell in love with it, with the whole process, and then I started to learn more. I believe in just constantly learning to be a better person, but more so I wanted to be a better mom. My daughter is 13 years old now, but when she was younger, and let me move to this next slide so that I can tell you that my story. I wanted to give her the best life that she could have, but I didn't necessarily know she had a problem. It was a mother's instinct. It was a gut type of reaction of, oh my gosh, something is wrong with my baby, my child. We're a very young family. Although I have 5 siblings and a twin sister, there was no other children to compare her to or anything like that. So what I wanted to do is try to find out if I could get some help. Now, what I got was something different. I made a first call to take a parenting class, and the lady on the other line very bluntly told me that she would not appear in court to prove to the judge that I was taking the court-approved classes, and she, in so many words, called me a crackhead and thought that I was a drug addict who was trying to get my child back. And I wasn't rude to the lady, but my response to her was, my child's sitting right here. I got my kid. I'm not a drug addict, lady. I'm just trying to be a better parent. And so that was one thing. I used to take my daughter to the ER because when not knowing what's wrong with your child, I didn't know what else to do. So another thing that happened to me, and look, I just give it to you, right? From the beginning. And you all have heard me speak before, so I know that listening to me is like drinking from a fire hose, but keep up. Keep up, guys. So the other thing is I went to the ER, and there was a very professional doctor. She was a nice lady, but she also told me that my child just was having behavioral issues. She didn't have a dad in the home. She needed a whooping. And she sent me home with a note about this size and said, when your neighbors call the police, just show them this. And the note said on something crazy like, this child has extreme tantrums, she's completely spoiled and spends too much time with grandma, let her go, don't arrest her, she's not abusing her child. And that happened 2 or 3 times where the police actually came to my door thinking that I was beating my child with hangers, but really, the child didn't have on any clothes because she had extreme sensory issues, and we had central air and heat. And I had no clue that the central air and heat was setting her off. So I learned all of these things, and I start out with these stories to let you know the people that you're really trying to reach and what they're really trying to deal with. I see some similarities from the other presentations saying that people fear, fear, immigration. We fear children's services because someone's always ready to call children's services. Now, I don't want to give you all of this. I'm just giving you the realness for the setup. And so for the overview that I'm going to speak, and you saw that slide enough, so here we go. All right, so my diagnosis finally came at the age of 4. And it came from CHLA. And so I've been there, and I've been at that site forever, and I hold fast to them. I cling tight to get all of because it's my home, and I really built up a trust for the staff and the people that were there. And when the lady, she told me, she sat me in that room that day, and it was just my daughter and I and the doctor. doctor, and after a very long time, right? These things took a long time. And she told me, she says, your daughter is on the autism spectrum. And I said, I didn't have the normal reaction everybody else had because I didn't know what it was at all. And this was years ago, right? So I said, okay, what do I do now? That was my response, being Kameena. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the typical response, but I'm a dig in there and get in there type of person. So I said, so what do we do? And she basically just looked at me and was like, okay. Like, are you cool? She's going to cry in the car. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, lady. You know what I mean? I was like, so give me something. What am I going to do? And so I began to learn, and I did learn that it was going to be a marathon and not a sprint. So I wanted to let you guys know that at the time I was low income. I can still use a couple dollars now. She's 13, she's killing me. I was in an underserved area already. The area was Spanish-speaking community, and it was, even when I went to the store, they wouldn't let me speak English. They was like, nope, you're gonna speak Spanish because you're in our neighborhood. And I was like, what am I don't know what's gonna happen. So there was a lot of me not knowing, but learning. You know what I mean? Which is something that I think is very resilient. And as a culture, I call it multi-ethnic African American, meaning that I have a lot of cultures mixed up. These freckles, somebody put cream in that coffee. So I say a multi-ethnic, I just say black, you know what I mean? I just say black because I don't want to disrespect the Irish side, you know what I mean? So that's all I say. But then also, and I want to mention Maureen, when she said the Latino culture, like there's some Hispanics. Hispanic means you're from Spain, and there's just a lot of other countries that speak Spanish. So we say Latino, and I want to clarify these things. That's why my presentation is so different, because they're giving you what you need to know. So now let me explain it. And those are the two things that, you know, so really, honestly, when you come as a person, okay, white person, because St. Louis, I'm so sorry, I saw 100%, I was like, whoa, everybody's white. So when you go and say to, but I'm being serious though, when you say you're Hispanic, then they automatically know you don't know. You know what I mean? Because they automatically know that you don't think outside the box to know that there's more. Why would you call me Hispanic? I'm not from Spain, I'm from Guatemala. You know what I mean? Or something like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or I'm Belizean, but you called me African American. I look black, but I speak Spanish. Spanish is my first language, and I'm Belizean. So I'm gonna say Latino, Latina, and I'm just gonna use the term black, or you can use African American if you like it, if that's what you're gonna do, but ask them what they prefer to be called sometimes, because you just don't know. So I'll just put that out there. And I think I've covered most of this, except to say that I enjoy the other presentations as well, because it taught me how much I have to do. Okay, there's a responsibility in my community, in the Latino and Black community, to try to teach others, right? And that is a direct Martin Luther King Jr. statement for me to make, to say that it's for me to lead my own people. So I see how much work I have to do and where I have to go to get them, because I am a success story and I proclaim myself as such. I do say that my daughter is an underserved individual with autism, using the person first language, as Kathy taught me. So, because what happens is, she's 13 and a half, right? She was late diagnosed, so there was no early intervention. She's a young Black female, but she's also a girl, ADHD, autism, you know, autism spectrum. But my daughter, I wrote the puberty toolkit because I was living that life. Go read that story, and that is the girl. And Kristen, my hero, for helping me with that so much, because I was going through that stuff at the time. My daughter's now in a level 14 non-medical therapeutic residential program. And that pains me to say. I can tell that I've made total progress by not randomly crying when I say it. Because I made that decision because my daughter was beyond my scope of care, and I did everything right, and well, at least I was told, you've done everything right. You have done everything that you could do, and she's beyond your scope of care. And I made that as a transition to get her what she needed for the quality of her life and just long term. But I deal with something that parents don't normally deal with in pediatrics, you know what I mean? This is a transition issue, this is an adult issue, not for me. So and my child is not a foster child. You know what I mean? In addition to me not being a crackhead, she's also not a foster child. So it was weird. I'm like, okay, you got a lot going on here, people, but I deal with a lot of issues that people don't deal with. And so I want to also speak to that because that is something that made me feel totally bad. And so when you go to talk about trust and you're talking about trusting your staff and whatever, who can I tell? And I consider you all, believe it or not, friends. You understand my brand of special. I am very animated. Some people will say goofy, but you guys get me, you know what I mean? So I have to be able to trust you to do that. And so I do want to say that my success story for my daughter is now that she's her own youth advocate. Because she's gone through so much, she can speak up and say, are you ABAing me? I'm like, okay, little girl. I will, you know, she's like, that's babyish. I don't need a social story, that's for babies. But I've created that monster, right? With each IEP, she seems to get stronger. So, and she's writing a book this summer. Well, she's actually written a series, and there are 2 books, and so. And she's done talks with me, and we've taught college students. And when we did the puberty toolkit, it was nothing for her without her. Just translate. So she's like, I want to be part of my own life, and so I feel like that was responsibility raising her being just coming out of this well. So I wanted to put that the multicultural goal here was to support, empower, and educate Blacks, cultures, and through the principles of family-centered care, so that they would be able to understand that you have a place at that table. You are an equal partner. Don't feel so unequal to the person that's speaking to you because you're a part of that team. And I think very collaboratively, even when it comes to my team for care. So I am not, it's not uncommon for me to bring food to an IEP or snacks or something like that. My daughter, I did it the first time, and then the second, third, and fourth time, she was like, Mom, we gotta make cookies. It's an IEP. And I thought, that's not normally how that goes, but since you held on to that, and teachers are hungry too, right? So I fed the teachers. And so, and like I said, the gaps and disparities, and to improve care in underserved and socially economically challenged families. Issues. We can go on and talk about issues, and they've done a great job, but I want to just highlight a few that, yes, do I go to work or do I go to my child's appointment? Resources are the #1 reason as barriers to participation. So if and a lot of these things are not off of a bus line, or I don't have bus tokens, or no, there's no food at the meeting, and I know we gotta eat for today. There's no stipend, and I know that my lights are about to get cut off. So that makes this not so, right? In the scope of my day, do I go to a parent focus group, do I go to floor time, do I go to ABA, or do I feed this little girl? You see what I'm saying? And I hate to say it like that because it's been said before, but from my own experience, that's the passion that you hear in my voice, is from days like that being like, she's crying, I need help, but not today, you know what I mean? Inconsistency in care coordination. There's all this diagnosis coming out of it and whatever, then I can't get a service to save my life. And the insurances didn't always pay for ABA. All I'm saying is it was through the school district, and then it takes so long to get that or whatever. So I feel like care coordination should be treated, treat coordinated care like labs. Labs don't sit around. You know what I mean? They don't wait. There's an immediate follow-up to these things. So I feel like if we treated our care coordination like we treat labs, we might be able to get somewhere. The lack of understanding for the medical jargon. They brought up different languages or whatever, but medical jargon is very important as well. If you don't have anybody to sit there, and you could be speaking plain English to me, but as soon as you start saying bigger words that you do not define, it will set people who are, and it's not that they're not educated. They didn't go to medical school, and you didn't teach them what that word meant, but you automatically thought that they would understand it. Why? You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Explain it to me, but be that person who knows, hey, do you want to ask any questions? Do you know what that means? Step outside of yourself to think about what your patients, might be going through, or, just the people you see in clinic. Inaccessible times and inaccessible areas. I mentioned not off of a bus line, but what about if the fathers, right, have to work all day long and you're making your follow-up appointment at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock in the morning? Of course you're going to see the mom because she might be the more of the primary caregiver that will be able to make that appointment. But then, sometimes you just can't, like for the families who work and everything, and that's not a problem that we can solve today. I'm just bringing it up as the issue. And then the lack of appreciation for family-centered care. Mr. or Mrs. is just a parent. You're just a parent. You know what I mean? Oh, they're just a parent. You know what I mean? That hurts because I deal with this all the time, and she says the parents are expert, right? Kristen's like, we regard the parents as, I really am, because I didn't have any services to go to learn how to manage this little girl's behavior. I did that on my own, and I'm smart enough to now. One for me. Another one for me. I gave myself credit to be like, hey, well, you did all right so far. You give yourself more credit. A lot of adults don't get positive reinforcements. There's no more stickers next to our name. I personally take offense to that. I try to give myself a sticker on days, that I feel like I did a great job. I'm like, hey. But why do you think I'm always running around telling you all how good you look? Because you go through super hell, but you still look like that. And I appreciate that, and someone should take notice of the fact that we as adults work hard, all of us, and I've been trying to steal a piece of clothing from at least every woman in here, and I think it should give me what I want after this.
Kameena, you're looking really good.
Thank you, beautiful. So the false relatability are making racially rude references. Hey, girlfriend! Don't do that. Do not do that if that's not your real personality. Now, some of you in here get a total pass because that is your real personality. Dan said something like, yeah, she had to represent. I was like, that is Dan. And Dan get away with that. But some people, they make racially rude comments, and they'll say something about, they'll make a direct reference to something about Obama. I love him. I don't know him personally, and you don't feel like you don't have to make that reference just to say that you're relating to me. You could just say something about pie because everybody loves pie. I love pie. You know what I mean? Like we can bond over pie. You know what I mean? So and then stereotype family based on appearances only. So if I walk in with these and with this on, and you start talking about Malcolm X, you see what I'm saying? Then that's basing me off of my appearance. Or what if, there's a lot of urban cultures, a lot of inner city women who have earrings and piercings and tattoos and whatever, and you just automatically assume, and for other cultures as well. But for this presentation, we'll just base it on the blacks, that you will say that, oh my gosh, she's ghetto. So she's obviously undereducated, uneducated, whatever, and not necessarily true. That's just something that people might do to try to, it's artsy. They like it, tattoos and whatever else. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I wanted to leave this with a quote, let us help you understand us. Just ask before you assume, because it's better to ask me to help you understand me and for us to understand each other before we go any further. And then you can see Keena's face. This is how she looks when there's issues in her life. She's like, oh, I know you're not talking to me. Okay. And you'll see her throughout the presentation because this is all about it. So, cultural sensitivity. I will let you just read this, but I define it as a set of skills that enables you to learn about and get to know the people who are different from you, thereby coming to understand how to serve them better within their own communities. And there's a lot of things that you can do to become culturally sensitive, and I'm not trying to gloss over anything, but I do want to, we all know what that is. So you're smart people. I think you're doctors, and there's some other people in here. And so I'll move on for that. Because I want to move on to cultural brokerage. And cultural brokerage in healthcare, there's a whole definition for it. Now, here's what it means to me. It means one of our own is coming to help us understand. And so I like the word someone used that was a bridge. A cultural broker is a bridge to that community. And especially in the communities that you're trying to reach in underserved communities, if you don't have someone who at least relates to that culture or knows that culture or speaks to that culture directly, you will never break through. Which is the reason why, and I suggest this, somebody from St. Louis better call me, like quick. Because, no, I'm being serious, that's the solution. I can help with that. Because the thing is that I can immediately see by their numbers, they don't trust you guys. Yeah. And even though you're right there in that location, there's not one person there that they can say, I can relate to Mrs. So-and-so, or, you know, Mr. has my back, you know what I mean? Mr. Dan has my back, or Mr. Todd has my back, or anything, you know what I mean? There's somebody that they can at least say, oh my gosh, they understood me, or they at least listened or opened up. And that's not offensive to the staff that's currently there. I'm just saying, it's not, you're not one of ours. And a lot of times, and I really wanna, I'm sorry, I have to pick on Angelita, okay? We're the two black people in the network, so. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but our bond is not just of being black. We have so many other things. We both have girls with special needs and whatever else, and you know, similar, but that's how I bonded with Amy first. It wasn't my color, right? When we text each other, I'm not being like, okay, one black girl to a white girl. I'm going, what does your daughter do today? Help me, you know what I'm saying? But I was picking on Angelita because I've never met her. Yet we had Auda and Gabby and Angelita. We all went on a wonderful boat ride last night. You know what I mean? And the reason why you immediately bond is because you can understand each other. And it's not saying I don't understand the rest of you, but there's a bond between us, obviously, that we're other, you know, we can speak on, okay, and now how do you serve other families or whatever, so it helps us out. And the reason why I mention this so heavily right now is because I feel as a solution in this network, a cultural brokerage system would work. And I would put myself in harm's way to say that I would love to have the opportunity to create that program for the black community, have video training on it, and so where you're able to take it back to your sites and have those other people, and that is a straight up solution. It's a straight up solution because I think you need that. And so community liaisons, they can be faith-based, role in the community as a healthcare worker. They have to be identifiable representative or relatable, you know, and relatable. Should say and relatable. Because if I'm going to my own community now, they still know I'm educated and I work with all of you all. And so I'm not exactly the same socially, economically as they are. So you know what I mean? But I've come out of that and I can understand that. And so because I pull myself up, I'm motivated, but you know, I'm still not like them. You know what I'm saying? How that goes, even within a class, there's different levels. And you know I'm keeping it 100 today because I told you guys that. And then another thing is, this ties right in with language and code switching. Just because I speak English doesn't mean I don't speak a language that you guys don't understand. Has anyone ever heard the term Ebonics? Yeah. Or show of hands? Okay. You people don't understand Ebonics. You're not supposed to. It was a slave language. You're not supposed to. It's a slave language that came out of us that we hold on to, and it's a part of our culture. Is it proper English for you all? No, but would you claim that Spanish wasn't proper English? Right, because it's not English. Ebonics is a whole separate language. And it's a language that we code switch, what's called code switching. Understanding, and that means understanding the cultural references that we make for each other. However, some of it is widely used. Who knows about raising the roof? Raise the roof.
Sure, from Louisiana.
There's a lot of stuff. Who knows about a shout out? I want to give you a shout out. See, that's Ebonics, but in some people, culture, whatever, they wouldn't understand what we're actually saying. So don't judge me because I might use Ebonics. I'm using it with my own people and it's our own language, but don't think just because we speak English that we're talking wrong. We're speaking wrong, okay? And that 100% because I feel like there's nothing else I can do, you know? Let's get to the solutions. Collaboration with families, community organizations. There are organizations that are around that you could access if you do some research in that actual community and you say, okay, who works with this particular underserved population, reach out to them and then partner with them to change. And it could be just that easy. You can find a cultural broker there. Family Voices. Tom and I, my work husband, hi, sweetie. I'm working him to death. We went to Family Voices and met beautiful Aura. Okay, and so that is something that we partnered with them to say, hey, bring this lady from Family Voices so she can talk to us about the Latino. So direct result of how we reached out. Parent education support groups and resources. The parents whom we're trying to reach out to have a whole separate problem before they get to the care that you're trying to provide with the resources and just the life issues. And so we want them to work through that so that they're able to grasp the concept of then getting care. And the best way to do that is to have a support group available to them that is not the same as, the support groups that you've seen the video from. I almost lost everything when you showed that. I almost lost it all because that is how we are able to bond with each other and learn more of the information that will help us along. And then one of you have been great and wonderful and they're gonna suggest us to you. Okay, they're gonna say, trust this person, they're good. And so that's how it comes. I think that we were talking about it in our breakout, that also a good way to do that is the support groups that we're gonna have, make sure that they are, you can come into our support group or whatever, but like she said, like Maureen said, make sure that they're at first able to relate to each other and they have that time to talk, and then, so we'll do it like that. Authentic service with integrity. Once again, remove yourself from anything and whatever else. When you go in there with a clear head and just be a person. You know what I mean? Like, just be a person first and respect that person and that family. And that's what that means. Provide opportunities for diversity and parent leadership. Now, this young lady that was on your video, Maureen, who was the mom who spoke Spanish and English, I'm going to then ask her to start taking some of our parent education courses to learn a little bit more about that, because she's going to be my cultural broker. She said her goal is to teach other families. And so I'm going to think about that in the future of what we're trying to do within this network and raise that lady as an advocate. Okay? Just like you all have raised me, I'm a monster. I'm telling you. Provide opportunities for research participation. I don't want to leave that out, especially for any of the ARP activities. I'm a scientific reviewer, and that is something that I really like to do. And I really like being able to help for the future of this network in that way. Offer me that when you feel like I'm ready. And then say, you know what, if I'm not ready, say it's on the table for later, just in case you'd like to work up to that. And it gives me a goal. And it makes it seem like, I get paid for it, I may just get a stipend, I may just get whatever, but I'm proud to help, and I'm proud to help for the future of it, so I know that I have something to work up to. Kind of like I'm building my own curriculum to be an advocate and to be that person. Community supports, which is how we make it over, right? Because when we don't have services, we depend on each other. You know what I mean? Not just as a race, but just as humans. We depend on each other. You have that neighbor that can watch your kids, or somebody who can take the kid off the bus, or you know what I mean, that if it doesn't happen. There's, we have that. The natural supports, which I know a lot of people think that churches, and I don't want to say that that's incorrect. I personally cannot go to church. I'm not the most religious person. I'm spiritual. So I believe, of the goddess within. I'm trying to improve myself to be that person and exude that light. So I'm not necessarily as religious, but the reason why I can't really go to church is because my daughter has autism. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's putting up with that? No one is, because church is quiet. And you need to sit quiet and listen and whatever else.
Girl, you're going to the wrong church.
Right. Right. You know what? So what I did was improve their child care thing. I brought it to them. They were not exempt. I was like, so here's the toolkit. I need y'all to read this, because we need to be up in here. And then 211. 211 is a nationwide directory that we don't access. That could be a natural support for us being able to remedy some of these resource issues before we get to the family. So I just want to, Gabby and I went to a beautiful meeting in LA with 211, and they're right. They're a nationwide directory of, hey, so you guys need, what is it? the food program, the card or whatever. So you need food or whatever it is, they would do that. Okay, so see, I don't even know about that anymore. So they're gonna be like, no, she's not like us. So what to do? Go into their community, be noticed in their community, ask people who are trying, and you'll break through. Simplify your language. Identify cultural brokers who are familiar, that look the same, with code switching abilities. And so since I have that and I can speak that particular language, it would be great. Social media, Facebook, using celebrities as an example. There's a lot of celebrities in the Black community that you'll see that have special needs children. And so they can do it, you can do it too. They're using this inspiration. And then of course, I always reinforce people when they do a great job and hope that they give you a hug as well at the end of the appointment. And so I put a picture there of two of my greatest supporters. I call out Dr. Larry Yin because I was in a research project through USC that his name was on it. He never knew that I knew his name was on it. So after it's over, it was autism in urban context. And through that, it was something, he's looking like, that was years ago. But I met a lot of friends through that, and that raised me as an advocate as well, because it gave me all of my information from other parents, and we had narratives, and the narratives were recorded, but for research purposes or whatever. But the people were in the room. Everyone who was doing the research study was in the room, but it gave me so much infinite knowledge about, and these people, guess what? They're not social workers, no medical degrees, whatever. They were other parents of African American and Black families who had kids on the spectrum. So I was able to learn just a lot more from people who were ahead of me and people who were behind me, being like, okay, you need to go talk to Social Security, or you need to go to whatever. And so that's really literally how we do it when we have no services. We just learn. So parent power. Parent power. With that, I would like to ask Thomas a question before I have one more I have one more slide, and I would like to, you know what?
Do it.
Okay. Okay, so I have one more slide, and this is my resources. I wanted to show you all a picture of all of the people, and just a smattering of the people. So if you can see at the top, it's me. In the middle, that's my mom, and there's my daughter and one of my sisters, and then there's Dr. Smokler, who was a CHLA doctor. In the middle, smack dab in the middle, you should recognize that lady. That's Angela Geiger. There's a twin sister, my twin sister with the AS sign, and then Holly Robinson Pete, who has really helped me to understand a little bit more about this. And there's my nephew. And as you look at the resources, I would like to say that it reminds me of a song. Maybe you guys know it. I'll try to make it happen. Oh. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me.